The universe in its natural state is cold. It is a vast, silent vacuum where heat is a rare and precious anomaly. The invaders we called the cryolords hailed from the Boreas Nebula, a place where molecular motion is considered a sin. When they arrived, they didn't use fire or kinetic force. They brought the white stillness. They deployed massive sub-zero arrays that didn't just lower the temperature, they suspended physics. They sucked the kinetic energy out of the very air, reducing entire cities to absolute zero. At that temperature, steel becomes as brittle as glass. Electricity stops flowing through conventional wires. Even the air we breathe turns into a liquid, then a solid, choking the life out of anyone not shielded by experimental tech. We watched through remote sensors as the glacial lords walked through our frozen streets, shattering our soldiers with a mere touch, turning a vibrant world into a silent, crystalline graveyard. They thought that because we were biological, we were fragile. They assumed that because our bodies required a narrow range of warmth to survive, we would simply flicker out like candles in a blizzard. They believed that by taking our heat they took our soul. They were catastrophically wrong. They forgot that the history of humanity is the history of the fire. We didn't just learn to use heat, we learned to create it where none existed. We are the species that chained the lightning and caged the sun. We created the soul pattern protocol. And we birthed the first thermal assault legion. The fusion walkers. We don't wear standard armor. We wear starback exocets, massive reinforced frames built around an exposed, overclocked fusion reactor mounted directly to the spine. We don't hide our heat, we weaponize it. Our suits are designed to bleed thermal energy, creating a permanent life zone of 2000 degrees Celsius around us. We are walking suns in a world of ice. We don't need to aim at the enemy's heart. We just need to stand near them until their nitrogen-based biology evaporates into a scream of steam. We are the absolute heat, and we are about to melt the white stillness. I am Commander Nova Ignis. My reactor is currently redlining at 3000% of its safety rating, and the air around me is glowing white-hot. And I'm about to go for a stroll in the park. The mission was the breach of the glacial spire, in the heart of Neo-Reykjavik. The spire was a 3,000-foot needle of dark ice that was projecting the absolute zero field across the northern hemisphere. If it stayed standing, the planet would be a snowball within a week. Reactors to maximum. Vent the primary heat sinks. Let them see us coming. I roared into the haptic link. My voice was distorted by the sheer volume of ionized air vibrating around my helmet. Walker 2 Sarah. Reactor stable. I'm melting the street just by standing here, Nova. It feels like I'm carrying a star on my back. Walker 3 Jax. My external sensors are melted, but I don't need them. I just follow the steam. We dropped from the high-altitude Igni carriers, falling through the frozen sky like 3 falling coals. As we hit the ground, we didn't crash, we burned. The 30-foot thick layer of ice covering the city streets flashed directly into superheated steam. A massive white cloud erupted, hiding us from the cryolords' visual sensors, but we didn't care. To them, we were 3 blinding thermal signatures moving through their perfect cold like a cancer. Immediately, the cryo-ghouls, the invaders' rapid response infantry, swarmed us. They were skeletal horrors made of frozen ammonia and dark matter, moving with a jerky, frictionless grace. They lunged at us with blades of absolute zero ice, intending to shatter our armor with a single touch. They never even reached the metal. As they entered my 2000-degree aura, their bodies underwent a violent phase change. They didn't just die, they detonated. The sudden influx of heat into their frozen structures caused their molecules to expand with the force of a grenade. I didn't even have to swing my fist. I walked forward, and the enemies in front of me simply turned into clouds of hissing gas. They can't touch the heat. Push to the spire. I raised my magma spitter, a heavy-duty shoulder-mounted cannon that didn't fire shells, but a continuous stream of molten tungsten. I pulled the trigger, and a spear of orange fire cut through the blue-white fog of the city. A cryotank, a massive multi-legged harvester of cold, was in my path. Its cold ray hit my frontal shield, a beam of absolute zero trying to freeze my reactor. The two forces met in a spectacular explosion of steam and light. The Starback reactor roared, the white light intensifying as it fought the drain. I didn't back down. I pushed the throttle forward, my suit's hydraulics whining as they fought the temperature gradient. I walked directly through the alien's cold ray. The heat from my aura was so intense that the beam was neutralized 5 feet from my chest. I reached the tank and slammed my heated gauntlet into its primary cooling core. Shatter this. The tank didn't just break, it evaporated. The sudden heat caused its internal fluids to boil instantly, blowing the machine apart from the inside. Sarah. Jax. The spire is shielding its base with void ice. We need a synchronized thermal spike. We converged on the base of the glacial spire. The void ice was a black, light-absorbing material that could withstand incredible pressure, but it was still matter. And all matter bows to the sun. Link the reactors. Triple overload on my mark. We stood in a triangle around the base of the spire. We engaged the core vent sequence. This was the most dangerous maneuver a fusion walker could perform. We weren't just bleeding heat, we were opening the containment fields of our fusion reactors. For a few seconds, we were the hottest points in the solar system. 3, 2, 1, burn. The world went white. A pillar of pure solar intensity fire erupted from our positions, converging on the black ice of the spire. The sound was a roar that would have shattered eardrums if there had been any air left to carry it. Instead, it was a vibration that shook the tectonic plates of the Earth. The void ice didn't just melt, it skipped the liquid phase entirely, turning into a plasma jet that shot upward, carving a hole through the spire's foundation. The glacial spire groaned, a sound of groaning ice the size of a mountain. Without its base, the 3,000-foot structure began to tilt. Get back. She's coming down. We reversed our thrusters, the heat from our suits creating a tunnel through the steam. I looked back as the spire collapsed. It didn't fall like a building. It shattered like a frozen needle, millions of tons of ice crashing into the ruins of the city. As the primary array hit the ground and its power source was compromised, the absolute zero field flickered and died. The white stillness was broken. Across the northern hemisphere, the temperature began to climb. The liquid air turned back into gas. The ice began to soften into water. The sun, finally able to penetrate the dissipating aurora clouds, hit the streets of Neo-Reykjavik for the first time in months. The cryolords, unable to survive in a world where water was a liquid and the air was warm, retreated to their ships. They had come to find a cold, dead rock. They found a species that carried the fire of the gods in their backpacks. I stood in the center of the melting plaza, my starback reactor slowly cooling to a dull orange glow. My armor was scorched, my systems were fried, and I was drenched in sweat inside my suit, but I was alive. And I was warm. Humanity has proven the ultimate truth of the apex retribution. You can try to freeze the stars. You can try to bring the silence of the void to our home. You can try to stop the motion of our atoms. But we are the species that conquered the winter. We are the ones who don't just endure the cold, we destroy it. We are the fusion walkers. We are the absolute heat. And the world is ours to burn. The spire is gone. The ice is melting. The spring is coming. The mission is over. Now, someone get me a very, very cold drink. I think I've had enough heat for one day.